Well, hello. You know it's me, Pastor Garlinda Price with Common Ground Ministry. I'm so excited to talk to you. I tell y'all that every week, so you should know that by now. Anyway, just kidding. So I didn't want to be late. I didn't want my video to not upload properly because I have those that have no tolerance for me being late. Just kidding. Shout out to my friends. And then I want to share with you before I start the video that Pastor Marvin, shout out to my lamb chop, and Apostle Greg Farmer, a really great friend of his, they're going to be doing Inside the Huddle, which is a men's program coming up on September the 10th at 9 o'clock. So I shared the link on my page. I'm going to share it in a post later on tonight. So if there are any men that are listening and you're in the Fayetteville area or plan to be in the Fayetteville area, or if not, come on and drive down and support Apostle Greg Farmer's program. It's called Inside the Huddle. It's going to be really good. Marvin is the he's just the speaker for that day. I believe it's going to be an ongoing program, and it's just going to be really great. It'll be a blessing for men. So ladies, if you're listening to me, have your husbands click on the link and have them join and let them all fellowship in the Lord together. So I love the topic for tonight. Y'all, I woke up so late this morning. Today was the kids' first day of school, and so I didn't sleep well because, one, I ate too late, and then two, I was in panic mode because I thought I was going to be late getting up to get Miriam ready for school, and so I was up all night. So anyway, when I got up this morning and I was working on my book, and as I was looking through the Bible, I'm doing a section in the book that talks about the blood and the power of the blood. And I saw this section and I was like, that's it. God said this is for tonight. So no more delay. So the title of this section of my book, you know how your Bible will have annotations or notes up top, says God's angel to prepare the way. So this is coming from Exodus 23, and it's going to be verse 20 through 33, but I'll try to make it quick. So see, I'm sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and to bring you to the place I have prepared. Pay attention to him and listen to what he says. Do not rebel against him. He will not forgive your rebellion, since my name is in him. If you listen carefully to what he says and do all that I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies and will oppose those who oppose you. My angel will go ahead of you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will wipe them out. Do not bow down before gods or worship them or follow their practices. You must demolish them and break their sacred stones to pieces. Worship the Lord your God, and his blessing will be on your food and water. I will take away sickness from among you, and none will miscarry or be barren in your land. I will give you a full lifespan. I will send my terror ahead of you and throw into confusion every nation you encounter. I will make all your enemies turn their backs and run. And it's funny because I was sharing with you last week about enemies and your enemy being on the run. So it's just fitting that God would continue that theme this week. And then it went on to say, I will send the hornet ahead of you and throw into confusion every nation you encounter. I will make all your enemies turn their backs and run. I will send the hornet ahead of you to drive the Hittites and Canaanites out of your way. But I will not drive them out in a single year, because the land will become desolate and wild animals too numerous for you. Until you have increased, too numerous for you. Little by little, I will drive them out before you until you have increased enough to take possession of the land. I will establish your borders from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, and from the desert to the Euphrates River. I will give into your hands the people who live in the land, and you will drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them or with their gods. Do not let them live in your land, or they will cause you to sin against me, because the worship of their gods will certainly be a snare to you. There's so much in here that I just was like, almost like, well, where do we start, God? So let's start at the beginning. So God said, I am sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and to bring you into the place I have prepared for you. So God has prepared a place for you. And then he said that I'm sending an angel ahead of you. So some of you already know that someone is leading you, right? Someone has partnered with you, or people are trying to partner with you, or people are coming on board with you. And God is sending an angel to lead and guide you into the place that he's promised you. And he said you must listen. So sometimes as believers, as people in general, we can be know-it-alls, right? I know there's times when I'm being a know-it-all and I have to say, Garlinda, just be quiet. Just be quiet, shut up, and listen, right? So sometimes you have to, and I don't mean to be crass with the word shut up, but sometimes you have to have a conversation and a gut check and a self-check that says, be quiet. I don't know everything, and I need to listen, because this person, albeit they may not be what I thought God was going to send or who I thought God was going to send, but they are the angel that's leading me into the place that God has promised me, right? And he said, don't rebel against them. That you have to not buck them. Don't argue with them. Don't be combative with them. So some of you, God has sent someone to lead you, and he's telling you, don't fuss with them. Don't argue with them. Don't tend with them. Don't have to be right all the time, right? So this word was ministering to me because I have a strong personality. And anyone that knows me knows that. And I pretty much tone it down for a lot of people so they don't think, dang, what's wrong with her? So But God has been dealing with me on that, to just be humble and just be quiet and just listen. So you have to be coachable. So in this season, in this hour, he said, do not rebel against the angel, because he will not forgive you for the rebellion, meaning the angel is not going to forgive you. And then he said, my name is in him. So God has placed his name inside the angel, inside the people and that are coming along to help you, the angel that he sent to help you. So you've got to, in this season, learn to be humble and be quiet and keep your peace. It's not important to be right. It's important to learn to hear and to listen and to walk. And then he says that I will be an enemy to your enemy, and I will oppose those who oppose you. So he talked about your enemy. The angel will go ahead of you, and he will bring you into the land of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and they're going to wipe them out. So I looked up to see who those people were, and they were giants, right? And they also engaged in child sacrifice. They worshiped Asherah, and they worshiped Baal and graven images. So there are people that God is going to drive out from before you that have appeared to be giants, like they're blocking your way, they're holding you up, they're stopping you from getting your blessing, they're stopping you from walking into your promised land. But an angel is leading and guiding you. God's name is in him, and he's leading the way, and he's going to defeat these people already for you. And then it says, do not bow down before gods or worship them or follow their practices. So you don't need to go along to get along. So there's so much going on in the world right now where it almost seems like, well, if you buck the system, it could go against you. But it's time for us to go against the grain, right? We are the chosen people of God. And so, again, you're going to be quiet. You're going to move forward. You're going to walk in silence, and you're going to be obedient. So you don't have to be all loud and rebellious, right? You're just going to sneak in. You're just going to walk in because you're being led by the angel. They probably won't even see you coming, because he said, I'm driving your enemies out ahead of you. But you don't go along to get along, and you don't put up with every wind of doctrine, and you don't agree with things that you know are wrong in this hour just so that you can get something. No, you stand up. We be who God called us to be. We say the things God called us to say, and know that God is going to exalt us in due season. And then he said that I'm going to take away sickness from among you. He said, I'm going to bless your food and your water. So your provision is not going to run out, right? Because he promised us those basic needs of food and water. But then he said, not only that, he said, I'm going to take sickness from among you, and none of you will miscarry or be barren in your land. So that means that you're giving birth to something, because if you're not going to miscarry, you have to already be pregnant, because you can't miscarry if you're not pregnant. So those of us that are pregnant, and those of you that are pregnant, you're going to give birth. And those of you that walk into the land and you're not yet pregnant, you're not going to be barren. You're going to give birth. We could stop the video right there, but we're going to keep going. So there's some of you that are pregnant, and you're going to give birth. You're not going to miscarry. And then those of you are going to become pregnant when you get into your promised place, and you will not be barren. Those things that God promised you, they're coming forth. He said, I will give you a full lifespan. So your life is not going to be cut short. You're going to live and not die. Some of you may have gotten a bad report, You may think that, what's it all for? Why should I even keep going? Why do I want to keep living? But God said, I'm going to give you a full lifespan. And then it says, I will send my terror ahead of you and throw into confusion every nation you encounter. So then I looked up the word nation, right? Even though we know what a nation is, but the definition for a nation is a large group or collective of people with common characteristics attributed to them, including language, traditions, customs, habits, and ethnicity. A nation, by comparison, is more impersonal or abstract and overtly political than an ethnic group. So that means that nations are any large group of people that have opposed you, that have been in your way, that have tried to block your way. God said that I'm sending them on the run. It says that I will make your enemies turn their backs and run. And we talked about that last week. Then he said this, I will send the hornets ahead of you and throw into confusion every nation you encounter. So I looked up, well, what's significant about hornets in the Bible? Well, the hornets that he's talking about in the Bible were hornets that could drive cattle and horses mad. It could cause them to go crazy, and it could even kill them, because the hornets in biblical times were larger than wasps, and they had the potential to kill. So he's saying that I'm sending hornets ahead of you to kill your enemy. They're going to drive your enemy mad. So the people that are trying to block you, get in your way, God is going to drive them mad. They're going to move. The enemy within them, those spirits within them, are going to be driven out, and they're going to be driven away. So somebody's getting their deliverance. And then he said that I will send the hornet ahead of you to drive the Hittites and the Canaanites out of your way. So I'm moving the giants out of your way. That's what the Spirit of the Lord is saying. And then he says, but I will not drive them out in a single year. Now this is important. I will not drive them out in a single year, because the land would become desolate and wild animals too numerous for you. So everything doesn't happen all at once. And so what we have to see is that if God gave us everything he planned to give us all at once, it would be too much for us. The wild animals would overtake the land, and we would not yet be prepared to move in to take it. So the angel's going ahead of us. He's driving out our enemies, and slowly but surely he said that I'm driving them out, but not in a single year. So how many of you know that your blessing is a progression? But what's amazing is that he said I'm driving them out in a single year. I'm sending your angel ahead of you. You will not be barren. You will not miscarry. So you're going to continue to be pregnant, and you're going to give birth, and God is going to be leading you and guiding you. And at the same time, he's going to be slowly giving you the land that he promised you, and he's going to ease you into it so that the land is not destroyed because we get there too quickly or we get there too soon. There's a preparation time. So God is driving those people out, and then he has to prepare the land so it doesn't get destroyed. So there's a process to get into our blessings. It doesn't happen. You don't throw seed in the ground and pop up and there's your fruit. Throw seed in the ground, pop up, there's the corn. But we hear that analogy all the time. But God said it right here. I will not drive them out in a single year, because the land will become desolate and the wild animals too numerous for you. So little by little, I will drive them out before you. So you're going to see it. He said little by little, inch by inch, day by day, month by month, year by year, decade by decade. Every day we're moving into our promise. So don't think that you've missed the way. Don't think that God has forgotten about you. He said little by little. And then he said until you have increased enough to take possession of the land. So what does that mean? That means that you're always increasing. Every day you're increasing. Every year, every week, every month we're increasing. Every decade we're increasing, and we're slowly taking possession of the land that God has promised. If you got to hear me when I say that, we are slowly but surely taking possession of the land that God has promised us, right? Receive that. This is his word. I'm just sharing it with you. I didn't even say it. It's in the Bible. It says, I will establish your borders from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. I did not get to look up to see how far that is, but I'm going to do it and post it in the comments section down below. But for 2 seas, for you to be given land between 2 seas and 2 borders, it has to be massive. So what God is saying he's giving you is so expansive and wide that it has to be crazy. And then he said from the desert to the Euphrates River. But we know how large a desert is. So the land and the places that he's given us, they're expansive, they're huge, they're wide, and they're broad, and they're enough for us to spread out. And then he says, I will give into your hands the people who live in the land, and you will drive them out before you. So now he's saying the angel in this verse is no longer leading you. He's giving you the power and the authority to drive them out ahead of you. And it says, do not make a covenant with them or their gods, because what will happen is when people see you prospering, they want to come try to make an agreement with you. They want to come try to partner with you. They want to come try to make covenant with you. But God said not to make a covenant with them. In this season, in this hour, we have to follow the angel, because God is in him. And he said, don't make a covenant with anybody. So when people come along and say, God told us we should partner up, God told us we should get together, you better pray and know thus saith the Lord, because he said, don't rebel. He said, you must listen, you must follow, and you must obey the angel. That's what he said. Then he said, do not let them live in your land, or they will cause you to sin against me, because the worship of their gods will certainly be a snare to you. So you can't be inviting people along on the journey. I mean, you can invite people on the journey, but I'm saying you have to, if wherever you're going, you have to know that you're in the right company. You have to know that you're keeping company with fellow believers, with like-minded individuals, with success and ministry and godly-minded individuals, righteous and holy individuals, because if not, God said that they're going to cause you to sin against them. And he said the worship of their gods will be a snare to you. So he's telling you that if you're with the wrong people at the wrong time during this season, that you're going to get caught in a snare. And he's already delivered us from the fowler snare. So I just want to share that with you tonight. And I'm going to post some references down below in the comment section. But I hope this has blessed your soul. It blessed mine when I read it this morning. And I could not wait to share it with you. I love you. I hope you have an amazing week. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.